Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Scrubbed In Daily Podcast. So I know for the last few weeks we've been a bit more serious, teaching you how to get into medical school, tackling interviews, so we thought we'd do something a bit different and something a bit more fun. So today we're going to be debunking medical myths, giving you the lowdown on all these myths that are circulating and really telling you is it true or not. Alright, so we'll go straight into it. The first myth. You ready, Amz?
Yeah, go for it.
So, apparently, after you die, your hair and your nails continue to grow even if you're 6 foot under in that grave. True or false?
Nah. I don't know.
Why you acting
Bro, of
bad
course
now?
I know the whole script to this, man. Come on.
He's acting. He knows what it is. Alright, so
Let's do it with the viewers
we'll do it
instead.
to the viewers. Is it true that after you die, your hair and your nails continue growing even though you're dead?
Alright, you got couple of seconds. Go.
Have a think. Let us know in the comments below. Alright, I can't wait. I'm too eager to start. So, essentially, when you do die, obviously all the processes in the body stops. All the cellular stuff stops.
What's the answer, bro? The way these
Let me be
question games
technical.
work. What's the
It's
answer?
false.
First?
It's false. The reason why I'll tell you is essentially when you die, you have to imagine everything starts working and you start to shrivel, things start to shrink, you lose all the moisture in your body. And so imagine you have your hands, and as you can imagine, it starts to shrink, shrivel up, and it gives the impression that your nails are growing when in fact they're the same length. It's just your skin around it is being retracted. Same as for your scalp.
Yeah.
The skin kind of reduces, shrinks, and it gives the impression your hair and nails are growing, when in actual fact it isn't. And if it is growing, then something's weirdly wrong, and we need to go back to the textbooks and scientists. But it's essentially that. It's because your organs, your skin, everything starts to shrink, and as you can imagine, it gives the impression of your nails getting longer. Fine. Myth 1, busted.
That's it.
Alright,
Number 2.
myth 2, go on.
This one vexes me. And everyone believes it's true and will be like, let me tell you an interesting fact.
Alright.
So, the average human eats 8 spiders per year. True or false?
Alright.
Bro, seriously. Have you heard that one before?
I've heard that a lot. I used to say it to people as well, but
yeah, I'm guilty of telling people.
Yeah,
Did you know that you have 8 spiders?
So go on, tell them the truth.
Like, no, of course not. It's false. Of course, you have to be living in a cave or something, man. Like in a rainforest with your mouth open.
Yeah.
Like, how are you having 8 spiders a year? Seriously,
Fine.
how are you gonna have
The
8
only
spiders
way,
a year?
so to be fair, there are some people that obviously sleep on their back, and there are some people that sleep with their mouths open.
Yeah.
But the likelihood of 8 spiders kind of climbing into your mouth, bear in mind, spiders tend to keep to themselves.
Exactly.
If that kind of makes sense.
And
So,
in the corner, wherever.
yeah. So I don't know. Someone may have swallowed the odd spider, but I think this is a myth. But
8 spiders a year, bro.
definitely we as humans do not ingest 8 spiders every year. That's obscene. Spread the word. Myth number 2. Busted.
Okay, number 3.
Alright, so myth number 3 is also another one I believed in, but hear me out. It's only after this that I kind of like, I was a bit silly. So have you heard parents kind of tell their kids, never swallow your chewing gum, make sure you spit it out, right?
Oh my God.
Because it's plasticky and it will be in your stomach for how many years?
For 7 or 8 years, isn't
7 or 8 years. I actually believed it. I genuinely believed it, even as like a grown adult.
No, see, this is what I mean. How am I gonna do a question time with you if you don't ask our viewers the question?
Do you guys believe it? Yes or no?
So chewing gum stays in your gut for 7 years. True or false?
Fine. If it's true, give us a like. If it's false, comment. I think that's fair, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Let's
fair.
do it like that,
That's
so
fair.
then we can know.
Go on.
It's false. Clearly, it's false. It does take slightly longer than other foods to digest due to the nature of chewing gum. However, within a day or two, you would have obviously passed it out. And if you haven't passed anything out, you're constipated. And what is the solution?
Bro, if this is the solution, if chewing gum is staying in your gut for 7 years, you need to go to a GP. You need to get referred to a gastroenterologist or a surgeon. You get your bowel cut out.
Something's not working. Or they're going to put a camera.
Like everything goes out within 20 to 48 hours, yeah? How are you going to have something in there for 7? That means your gut isn't working.
No, forget the scientific stuff. But it kind of does make sense. Because obviously you think chewing gum is like plasticky. It's something that you can chew on chewing gum forever. I don't know if you can, but like, think about it.
What about this though? Wait, bro. What if the chewing gum sticks in your gut from wall to wall?
Yeah.
Can it, and you have, say you swallow 15 different chewing gums.
That's
can
different.
it cause obstruction?
It technically can. When I was reading it, if you have an obscene amount of chewing gum, let's say, you know, Freshers Fair or like Freshers, and you're yamming down 20 chewing gums, it might cause an obstruction. Okay, but that's different.
So but that's different.
So be mindful of that.
So
but chewing gum doesn't stay in your tummy for 7 years. You will pass it out, and if you're not passing it out, you're constipated. You need to increase your hydration. You need to increase the fiber, or you need to go see a doctor. So myth number 3, busted. All right.
Okay. Number four. Now this is one that I did in my youthful years as well. Yeah. So true or false? If you shave, right, the hairs grow up thicker and longer, and the patches disappear. True or false?
I've tried it. Clearly, it didn't work. Clearly, it's sometimes when I'm shaving skin. I'm literally shaving skin cells.
But why does it look? Does it?
No. So when you shave, it doesn't affect the rate of growth. It doesn't affect how coarse it is, and it doesn't affect the thickness of it. The reason as to why it's kind of perceived, or people think if you shave your hair grows back thicker, quicker, it's essentially the blade, when it cuts at such an angle, at a blunt angle, that when you rub your hands across it or something, it feels stubbly. You know that feeling?
Yeah.
So that gives the impression that it's thicker. And the angle at which you cut it, so imagine, you know, the light reflects, or when you see it, it seems as if it's darker, so it's coarser when it's not. It's just the way the blade cuts it. So imagine you have baby hair, it's nice and soft, and it grows, never been cut. But obviously the blade cuts at an angle, so it feels stubbly, it feels it's thicker. But, and this is the important one, shaving does not mean your hair grows back thicker, stronger, quicker, or any of that. It's just the angle at which the blade cuts it gives it that impression. But then again, if it does feel like that, people are still not going to continue doing it, right?
Exactly. So basically, that's not a myth busted. That's more like you just destroyed everyone's hope of getting thick.
Nah, so the hope, no. If you want the impression that you got thick,
if you want the illusion,
bit,
right?
Yeah.
If you want
but we're here today to break the myths, and it doesn't. Saying that, being a medic, even knowing about it, I still did go ahead and try it. So that's the funny
thing. You gotta try.
Fine. So that's, what was that? That's myth number 4.
Busted.
Fine. Right. I think that was a quite cool one, to be fair. All right, what's the second
that was
one?
I actually didn't know much about. So,
but does it make sense though?
It makes sense.
Because imagine
it's more of an illusion.
Hair, if you cut it straight, it's blunt. But if you cut it at an angle, which blades do,
when it looks thicker because of the
way the light reflects, and when you rub it against it, obviously it's going to come across coarser. So fine.
Interesting. All right, number five. This is one, right? I've tried to test, but it's near impossible, right? So true or false? Sneezing with your eyes open will make them pop out.
All right. If you think it's true, comment. If you think it's false, drop us a like.
Yeah, drop us a like. We got nothing else.
We can't test it. All right, go on, tell them.
Nah, I don't know, man. You researched this one.
Fine.
Go for it.
I've tried it as well. So instinctively, when humans sneeze, you close your eyes. It's more so to prevent things entering your eye, to aggravate it, to irritate it. The way sneezing works is you build up pressure within, your lungs, your throat, the sinuses, all of that, and you kind of push out, snot or your mucus. By the way, it can go up to like 100 to 200 miles an hour.
Okay.
So that's like someone's snot that can come and hit you on the face.
You in the
Do you know what I mean? So if you think about it and you're not too clued up in terms of science, you're like, okay, if you're sneezing with that much pressure and you keep your eyes open, fair enough, you might pop out. But the closest thing to it, which I think is fair to mention, is you can kind of sometimes damage or rupture the blood vessels that are near your eyes or your face, and that kind of gives the impression of having really red eyes. And it's quite common in people that give during labor. So when you're delivering a baby, because you're squeezing and pushing out so hard, you can rupture vessels around your face and your eyes, so you get really bloodshot red eyes. But keeping your eyes open when sneezing, which is damn near hard enough to do anyway, doesn't mean your eyes are going to fall out the socket. However, this is interesting, yeah? So if you do need to sneeze, make sure you sneeze. Don't hold it in, because the pressure that builds up within you, yeah.
Oh, can go into the...
It goes into your
the
ears.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of rupture your eardrum. You can damage your middle ear.
There you go. For all those people that sneeze like...
Yeah, that's crazy. I get scared. So that's what it is. It doesn't damage your eye sockets or the muscles around your eyes, but it can rupture some of the smaller vessels around your eyes. So I don't know if this is true or not. So how would we describe this one? Because a bit of it is kind of true.
But your eyes don't pop
Fine.
out.
So in terms of the myth, do your eyes pop out if you sneeze with your eyes open? It's false.
It's false.
So that's myth number 4.
Unless you try it, it can show us evidence.
Fine, if you can try it, send it to us on our
on
Instagram, and we'll put it up. We'll put it up as a story. So fine. So that's myth number 5 busted.
Right. So this one's an interesting case that I came across. Okay, so true or false? If you look at the sun, you can actually go blind. True or false? Right? What do you think? Completely blind.
So
yes or no?
I don't know. I know you can. Technically, you can look at the sun. We see the sun every day.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I don't know anything further than that.
Okay, so I was reading about this myth and I was looking into case studies that were out there. So this one case, right, where this girl came into a clinic, saw the doctor, and said, "I keep bumping into things." All right. So usually you do a full visual examination, isn't it? And so you do the test, right, and there's 2 different blind spots.
Yeah.
In her eyes. So she can't see a certain area in both eyes.
Fine.
Doctor's absolutely baffled. Like, how can this be?
So before you go on, obviously loads of people are just interested. Kind of explain what it means to have a blind spot. Why having 2 is something different.
We all have so if you imagine the eyes as 2 big circles.
We'll put a diagram up.
Put a diagram up. Now where the vessels that essentially connect and give its blood supply and come into that circle, you have a small blind spot. That means you can't see it. Google blind spot of the eye and you can get a pen and you can actually test it to find where that blind spot is. Anyways, so this girl came into clinic and had 2 blind spots, right? And it was particularly big. Blind spot's supposed to be smaller, but it's a small blood vessel where it is. So the doctor then had a look at everything and then went through the history. And then eventually she found that, interestingly, she said, I was looking up at the sun for, I forgot how long, but a particular X amount of time. Right? She said it was really bright. It was flashy, but I still looked at it because it was so beautiful. Right? And what happened was, so they did a retinal screen of the back, the back of the eye, and they literally found that it burnt 2 holes in a symmetrical pattern. So the light rays came in at a certain angle into her eyes and symmetrically created extra blind spots.
Wow.
So, but this one's true.
But to be fair, it's really difficult. Imagine looking at the sun.
It's difficult.
So she must have been looking at it for a fair bit. But how would you do it though?
You can,
if you force yourself, you can look at it. But then it becomes irritating, overwhelming, and your eyes will start to water. So she must have went past that mechanism or whatever, and then continued to looking at it. Because I imagine naturally
you want to look away, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's like hay fever and dust, right? You close your eyes and it water to kind of stop anything that irritates the eyes. So I imagine in that case, I'm not 100% sure that she... It's like when you can stop a sneeze. So she must have overwhelmed that sensation and desire or protective mechanism to stop your eyelids shutting or whatever.
Exactly. But yeah,
that's interesting.
You can. So you can actually burn 2 holes in your retina.
So be careful.
Interesting. So, I don't know how common it is though. I presume that you can look at the sun, right? But as you said, eventually becomes irritative, and also that you look away and that specific amount of damage isn't caused.
Yeah.
But clearly she went well beyond that. So yeah.
Fair enough. It'll be interesting. So make sure you wear your sunglasses.
Yeah. And still, you can't still look at it.
You can't, yeah, you're right.
You're not supposed to still look at it a lot. For that.
To be fair, looking at anything bright will kind of mess up your eyes, to be fair. So yeah, that's true. Looking at the sun can give you a blind spot and it can damage your eyes. Essentially putting a hole in your eye.
Yeah.
Technically, right?
Technically, yeah.
Fine. So that was myth number 6. I don't know if it's busted. So myth number 6 is true. Looking at the sun can give you a blind spot, can damage your eyes.
Yeah, but you can look at the sun. It's
so
just
you can
that
look at the sun.
Damage.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so yeah, whatever. We've gone through that.
You interpret that how you want. Fine. Cool. So this is another very, very interesting myth. So I think some of the older viewers may know about it. It's essentially true or false. Vaccines is associated with increasing the likelihood of children developing autism. So you may have remembered this from medical school.
This is huge.
So let us know what you think before. We kind of tell you the answer in the comments below. Any idea? Do you remember anything about it?
Yeah, I remember this because I'm obviously in the GP practice now, so I see loads of people who say, no, I'm not giving the MMR.
Do you still experience this problem till today?
Yeah, you have to remember, it's as a mother or father, if there's any chance of something harming your child, any chance, you will not go ahead with it. And that's what it is. I think it's the chance. It's the chance that it is. But give the answer.
There was a really famous study, if you think about not too long ago, so 1997, and it was published in the Lancet. So I don't know if you all know what the Lancet is. So the Lancet is a very prestigious academic medical journal where some of the latest advances, some of the best cures in the world is published. And if you're published there, it's a very prestigious thing, especially for an academic researcher. So 1997, a scientist kind of published this paper saying the MMR vaccine, so measles, mumps, rubella, which you probably heard and is super famous, increases the likelihood of children developing autism. So you can imagine everyone was shocked. It's published in the Lancet and everyone's worried about it. So what they did is they obviously investigated, went into it further, and that study was kind of, what's the word? It got retracted or...
No, it's completely disproven, isn't it?
Disproven. There's a word, it's retracted. So essentially what they did is when they looked into the study, they found out there was loads of conflicts of interest, loads of procedural ways of doing these studies wasn't followed, lots of financial problems.
Was that doctor actually struck off as well?
I'm not too sure what happens to the doctors. He might, if you research it, MMR vaccine, autism, 1997, you can find out the background on it. So essentially, they went into it, they found that there was loads of errors, loads of malpractice, and they retracted it. So like they disproved it 100%. And they went a step further. Loads of other scientists did more studies showing if there is a link between vaccine and autism, and not a single one of them found any link or association with giving your child a vaccine and them developing autism. And some even noted that some children, and bear in mind this was British children, so obviously it's more prominent in the UK, that some children had the symptoms of autism well before they had the MMR vaccine. So that completely disproved it.
Do you know what it is as well? So one of my supervisors was also telling me the signs of autism that you see in a child, it manifests around the age that you get the MMR vaccine. Okay. So it's like a confounding factor. It's like you think, oh, I gave this vaccine, but those signs were manifesting around that age period anyways. So it's just what people could add 1 + 1 to be. No, you're right. So clearly there have been no link found to this date between the two.
I think, but you know, the things with these things is as soon as someone publishes it, once it's in the head of the people, it's very hard to forget it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like once you said, he's a really bad person, stay away from him. Once you hear that, you kind of register, and it's the first time you're hearing this news, it's very difficult for that person to kind of prove they're not a bad person.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is, to be fair, an important myth. MMR vaccines does not increase the likelihood of children developing autism. So that very common myth is false. Yeah?
Yep.
Cool. Right. Shall we move on? That was a bit somber.
That was a bit,
but it's true.
A bit serious. That one. We had to do that for the greater good.
Fine. All right, let's go to our next myth.
The next myth, morning sickness. Okay, so when you're pregnant, right, morning sickness. Is it true it's only in the mornings? True or false? We've got a gynecology and obstetric specialist here. Answer, please.
After my 4 months rotation. So, one, morning sickness is awful, but I'll tell you the stories of that later. So, loads of people probably hear it, especially when you're pregnant. I've got really bad morning sickness. A lot of people think it's only in the morning where like you're vomiting all over the floor. It's called morning sickness, but in actual fact, a pregnant mum can vomit any time of the day. It's essentially they can't keep anything down. It doesn't need to be food, fluids, whatever. They can't keep it down. And there's another myth associated with it. So they said, if you got loads of morning sickness, it means you're more likely to have a boy. All right? So a myth within a myth. Yeah.
Is that true?
So it's not true.
Okay.
There isn't any association with.
But I was acting because people call me incompetent.
No, you didn't know, did you? Did you actually know?
Of course, I know how the sickness pathway works.
How does it work? Do you know why people get morning sickness?
The HCG and everything.
All right. So what increases? All right, guys. This is us beefing. So what causes
Yeah.
So morning sickness is vomiting because of
Yeah.
the base HCG.
Yeah.
What things or factors increase that? So what mums end up having morning sickness more than usual?
Obviously, if they're having twins,
Okay. Why?
because twins have 2 different placentas,
So they got twice the number.
Twice the number of that.
Fine. What else?
Mums, obese people,
Fine.
people with thyroid issues.
All right.
Come on, come on,
Fine.
percentile. Don't try it. With
All right,
me,
we'll do a
man.
video. We're gonna do a
Okay?
video next week
I'll
on how to
tell
get
people
first
how to do
centile in exams. So morning sickness is due to a hormone in the body, which is produced by the placenta and other factors. But most often, people that have twins, they've got twice the amount of hormones, so that increases the amount of morning sickness to have. There are certain diseases to do with the placenta and the womb that increases the level of this hormone, which then increases the amount of vomiting. For mums, I don't know if any pregnant women watch this, but it usually resolves within 20 weeks of your pregnancy. However, I've seen it loads of times in A&E, and it's one of the most awful things.
Yeah, I see it a lot. I've seen it a lot.
You probably get in GP and you try to treat it. If you can't treat it, they're coming to us in A&E. People that have morning sickness, I actually feel for them because they can't drink, they can't eat anything. Even water, they end up vomiting it back out. They're really awful. They're really dehydrated. So in terms of a myth, it's not true. You can have morning sickness anytime throughout the day. It doesn't mean you're more likely to have a boy. Also, people have found kind of stuff like ginger helps with the morning sickness. So scientifically, they're in a link.
Yeah.
Like in terms of studies, anecdotally or like mums telling mums. So apparently it does work. So if you
You
do
have
have
the mums page for that sort of advice.
Yeah, you have to go to those
What do you do on the
forums.
mums page?
I wasn't in Ghana, so I had to learn this. So for morning sickness, what we used to recommend was bland food, nothing that triggers vomiting, like spicy foods with strong smells. Eat frequent but small meals. But yeah, before I go too scientific,
You're going too deep into that, man.
that myth is false. Morning sickness isn't just only in the morning. Fine, let's move on.
I'm not gonna lie, you had me sweating.
Is it?
Yeah,
Did you
all
know?
those risk factors?
Nah,
I had
it's
to go
important.
Deep
You went
into
deep into your brain.
Into my brain for that.
Fine.
Anyways,
Fine, all right.
myth number 8: broken bones. Right, when they heal and everything, they grow back stronger than the initial bone. True or false?
Let us know. It's the Asian thing, I'm telling you. You know, my mom used to say, yeah, if you break something or if you break bones, don't worry about it. It comes back stronger and better. Have you heard that? It's quite
Yeah,
common in Asian.
I've heard it. If you let it just heal,
Yeah,
it's stronger
it becomes
than ever.
stronger. Fine. But do you know why? So this is, I don't know.
I don't know why they thought that though.
So yeah, think about it. So this is before a lot of, my family, they're not that educated. They haven't done any science. But there is an element of truth to it. So when you do break bone, obviously, let's say you've kind of fractured your arm and there's a fracture, new bone does form and kind of heals. In the first few weeks or the initial stages, you get what we call a callus or a ring of strong bone, which kind of isolates the fracture sites, stops it from getting worse, initiates the healing process, and that thick rim of bone around the fracture is actually very, very strong.
Yeah, so that's the compact bone, isn't it? Yeah.
But the problem is, after a few weeks, once you're fully into the healing motion, months after months, that bone obviously goes and then the fracture site is healed. But it means that where the fracture was, that bone that replaced it, the new bone, isn't as strong or good as the bone surrounding it or adjacent to it. So,
But is it weaker? You're more likely to fracture in the same places though, right?
yeah, the myth is broken bones come back stronger. So the myth is wrong.
It's false.
Initially it's true. So that site,
okay,
let's say for the first few weeks, is stronger.
Okay, so there's a caveat to this one. Okay, fine.
Yeah. So it's probably why I kept it to the end. So imagine you fractured your bone.
Yeah.
And then it kind of forms this new strong bone around it. That bone is stronger than the bone above and below it.
Yeah, okay.
But after a few weeks, moving into the months, that bone kind of dissipates and you get the new bone that healed. That fracture site obviously is more likely to have a fracture. So if you had a fall somewhere, broke somewhere, you had a fall again, you're more likely to break that again. So initially that fracture site is stronger than your original bone, but over time, in the long run, it isn't as strong and it is in fact weaker.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's... How do you want to answer that?
True or false? So its broken bones are stronger than before. I think the answer is based upon
what time? Yeah.
So we have to take a full history now. Okay, so
that's true and false.
Full history. Okay.
But okay, let's be... In general, in the long run, I don't think it's just strong.
No.
Technically.
You're more likely to fracture in the same side, isn't it?
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
So,
fine.
that's all the myths I think we do, because we want to keep these videos short,
sweet,
fun, entertaining, give you some knowledge, kind of motivate, inspire, whatever it is, different topic. Let us know if you like this type of video, something new, something we've tried, and it will be something fun. So thanks for tuning in and listening to us debunking medical myths. If the response is good and you like it, we can do more stuff, or if you have a certain myth that you want us to bust or kind of research into, let us know. We'll be more than happy to do a video on it. But make sure you tune in the next few weeks, because we have a lot more new things coming, a few changes that you'll probably be interested to know about. But as usual, thanks once again for listening in, and we'll see you next week.